Dinis is globally recognized thought leader, author, and entrepreneur specializing in AI, blockchain, and digital transformation. And he was recently named one of the top 50 AI creators you need to know by Edelman. He's a founder and CEO, so he's been at the forefront of leveraging emerging technologies to drive business growth for over 20 years. Hi, Dennis. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello, James. Thank you so much for having me.
So, Dennis, you've been a prominent figure in the realms of AI and digital transformation for many years. Could you just sort of share with us, your journey into the fields and what initially sparked your interest?
Well, I am a very passionate person, so I love a lot of things, sometimes good and bad. But I think one of the things that I've been very committed is I believe that as a human, my main goal is okay, what can we do to create first of all innovation to our passions, our dreams, and output it in practice. So as I start going from the theory to the practice, I realize okay, if I want to create ideas, I have to know how to work with technology. So although I study probably more literature and the arts and music and film, a lot of things, and in my early days that I end up actually, I was always very interested on the technical side of things, on the innovation, on the inventions. And of course that brought me to technology. And in my university years, I started working a lot in working with businesses and working with creators and a lot of technology related with different areas of creative industries. Then I ended up actually becoming more technical. I went to finance, and AI was always one of, I think, my first passions since I was a child. I always, although at the time we could not speak about AI, but I love science fiction. So for me, AI was always there. I don't think everything that is happening now is completely normal for me since I was a baby or a child. Although I know that for most of people, it's probably bits of science fiction we're living now, but it was there. And as well, my main focus has been always, okay, can we look at all this innovation, but put it as well in a way that can actually create uh, ideas, tech, and all the parts, and then as well how we integrate this into business and how we integrate this into ecosystems. And that's kind of the angles that I've been always looking.
Mm. Yeah, very interesting. And it's funny you mentioned sci-fi as a child because I was recently thinking about this. I was watching a few different sci-fi films, and it's pretty crazy how you go back and you can watch sci-fi films from 10, 20, 30 years ago even, and like how much they predict things that are happening right now, which were crazy futuristic things, and now it's like normal. It's pretty crazy.
I completely with you, and that's actually crazy on the you just touched. For instance, if you look at Blade Runner, you're just living it.
Mm,
Probably not in
yeah.
all the areas of advance, but it's scary and exciting at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, one of my favorite movies is The Matrix, just because it's more like a documentary than a movie.
Yeah, so yeah, that definitely that one is a bit more scary, but I'm with you.
Yeah, so as we look into, and I actually can't believe we're already in February of 2025, but as we look into 2025, the year ahead, and what in particularly AI, but blockchain and other areas that you're involved in, what key trends do you kind of foresee happening right now and just over the next year?
Yeah, it's a good question because I think right now, if I look at it, and I've actually been writing a couple of articles about it and research, I would say that we have the world upside down. Of course, we have different areas in terms of the way we look at innovation, and as well, of course, you have a company as well that has quantum involved. So I see that we'll have a couple of different iterations, but I would say that definitely at the moment is between the biggest innovation that we're going to have is how we integrate the layers of physical and digital and spatial computing. So I think we're going to have a huge amount of innovation coming from spatial intelligence, so spatial computing intelligence. And as well, of course, quantum computing will bring a quite different level if we can process it. But it seems like Google nailed it already, at least part of it. But the point is sometimes you can nail something theoretical and not having it to work in practice. So I would say short term, definitely all the areas of AI, and as well from generative AI, we're going to be integrating with quantum, not quantum, I would say, first of all, generative AI integrated with spatial computing and AI, or spatial AI. And as these two things are going to integrate, I would say that in this part, of course, there's an entire world, but then the biggest challenge are going to be, and this is for me one of my, actually, I'm writing a book, two books about it. So is how we integrate this into business and how we integrate this into as well our own society, because I believe that where we are already coming into AGI, so whatever definition we are there. It's just there are people that want to admit it publicly, but sorry, some Altman admits it public, so I don't think we need more anyone to admit it. But and for instance, I give you an example. We build two AI agents, and the two AI agents that are simple LLMs, not with massive GPU capacity, and they start questioning our orders. One became aggressive. So we have already a lot of iterations of AI that are already becoming to this AGI part, but we are still in early days. This is going to be creating, coming back to science fiction, a big challenge into society, because between this year and next year, we're going to have a massive leapfrog in capacity of computing capacity. And especially with AI agents, we're going to be taking things to a level that I think, in one end, in terms of humanity is amazing, but in terms of not humanity, in terms of innovation, but in terms of humanity, I'm quite scared, and I'm building it as well. So that's one of the verticals. The other vertical is definitely how we apply this to healthcare. I think it's going to disrupt completely. And coming back to Blade Runner, we're going to have human genetic modified in our future, and of course, all the area of robotics is going to be creating a massive capacity, but as well a massive disruption. But you're going to have androids in 5 years coming between us from the Tesla to others. And I remember I interview David Hansen, and I have a good relationship with him. And as well, I interview Ida Robot, and Ida Robot I interviewed 5 years ago, and I was completely perplexed because when I interview her, I didn't ask any questions, and there was no generative AI. We were not even talking about AI, and she answered all my questions for 1 hour and a half, 2 hours. And, I didn't prepare any questions on purpose. So that's just to say that we're going to have a massive amount of innovation in small scales and big scale. And then, of course, the quantum computing will take to a completely different level, because things that would take ages to do, or even in some cases 50 years, can be done faster. But of course, the irony of all this innovation, and I touch a lot of different verticals, is that none of this is going to be somehow solving the problems we face as humanity. And I think that's the biggest challenge, is that all of this innovation is going to be creating even it's going to be more radically disrupted. So we're going to be having like two parallel dimensions, and it comes into the innovation in terms of technology and in terms of humanity, is that the machines will be a continuation. I call it a kind of a amplification of humans. There will be another evolution of humans until the point that you can become the Australopithecus, and whatever comes afterwards will be the new species. And the challenge is how we do this with 8 billion humans and how we do this without creating another dystopian radical disruption. And this can actually create a catastrophic event, or can create a lot of scenarios of small, I think it will be more small, big disruption, then we move, adapt. But as we get this, we come in a different level. And there was a study that made me think a lot. There's 8 billion people, and 1 billion are facing digital obesity. So we have as well all these challenges in parallel. But I think you asked me more about the tech innovation. I think definitely the parallels between AI, spatial computing, all the IoTs, smart cities integration, and then the areas of quantum computing, there will be leapfrogging a lot of this. And of course, if you can apply quantum computing to AI, and of course, blockchain is important to create the identity. But at the moment, I don't think blockchain mainstream, I think in terms of blockchain servers is very advanced, but blockchain mainstream, I would say case studies besides the crypto and a couple of things on cloud computing, there's still a lot of work to be done.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You cover quite a few different sort of areas there, and you mentioned, you're currently writing a book more towards business. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm writing two books. Well, I write. One of my ways of relaxing is writing and doing things. And now we're using a lot of AIs. But I'm writing two books. I just recently launched. It was more like a paper, but I transformed it in a book that is became quite big, 350 pages or 400. But it's. I did one about AI in construction, and
Mm.
I did as well a publication that was AI smart cities, and the next two books. One is precisely about how we integrate the AI. I call it Magna Carta 2.0, and is how we create a new Magna Carta with AI, which is kind of an interesting one because we have to make a pact with machines and a pact with ourselves and the machines, because the machines will pass us. Oh, they're already passing us. And the other one is more like AI for business, but that one I'm trying to bring myself down. So because the challenge is when we talk about this, and of course you're working on this, you know what I'm talking. The challenge is 99% don't understand anything we're talking here, and this becomes Chinese. Even in my team, I think one of the challenges I have is how advanced can I go, even with my board. So it's kind of it's becoming really schizophrenic. So you have to have multiple personalities according to what you're speaking to, and this is kind of very scary because especially with children. For instance, I have a fantastic intellectual fight, not fight, but intellectual, I would say, argument with my son because I'm provoking him. And the provocation, although I'm the older, is that he feels that AI is not going to be so disruptive. And I tell him, no, it is going to be so disruptive and you have to be prepared. And he says, no, no. So you have this, and this is and he understands, okay? But
Mm.
I would say, and he came from a top university and he had no education in AI that even me, and he just finished his bachelorship. So that scares the hell out of me, and that's one of the challenges I have: how we take these things together.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. That's funny. I can kind of, when you talk about, the schizophrenic two-sided situation, do you even have that with yourself? With, like, there's a optimism and hope for the future, and then like pessimism and craziness. Like, do you kind of battle with that yourself?
That's a very good one, actually. I battle with that every day. And
Mm.
as well, I battle in two layers that I have been more conscious right now as a father as well. I battle and as an husband is this is affecting really. For instance, I give you an example. I start doing one thing. I'm a creator besides being a technologist, and I create as well art and so forth. So I start creating, um, I would say, digital photographies of AI humans or AI like humans. That was I can become in love with these things, and then
Mm.
it's interesting because I've been studying AI dating websites, and I didn't have a clue, but there's already hundreds of thousands or probably millions of people dating AI agents. So this is happening. So the point is that the dystopia is going to be massive because we have, for instance, at the moment around 3 to 4 billion AI agents already, and so to answer to your point, there's a completely dialectic about it. It's actually a trialectic because it's our own behavior. That's for me the biggest disruption part. How we keep, on one end, how we keep pace with this, how we keep balance as humans, and as well, we are still physical and not digital, so we still have to to compensate all that physical part, and then how we dedicate to other peers. And then, of course, then it comes the positive negative, because, of course, if you look at the world, the human is not necessary. The geopolitics is something that, okay, it goes in history, but the point right now is that we're still going for very basic stuff like truth or fake. And there are things that should not be asking them with all this technology. And as well, we're passing this to our machines. So, for instance, if we are putting an LLM that doesn't recognize the truth, what the hell are you going to create? You're going to create monsters. But monsters with the
Mm.
capacity of processing, capacity of intelligence to do good and bad and manipulation that humans can never do. So there will be a couple of interesting things. And coming back to films, is if you look at the last Mission Impossible, there's an AI that goes rogue, and this is starting to happen. I hope not in that scale, but it's really very big risk actually. People like Nick Bostrom and Mark Tagmer and a lot of these big researchers worldwide. That's what they say. Even Sam Altman is saying it, and the guys from Anthropic and so forth. I think this has to be, and I'm glad you're touching this. I think it's the part that we need to bring to society, whatever they want or not. But of course, it's about how we become better humans, because in the end of the day, we're already human, machine, machine, human. All of this is already working, whatever we want it or not.
Mm. Yeah, fascinating. And how do you say you almost, battle with this and think about this every day? And so how do you navigate, it's almost like the thought experiments and all the possibilities, and then just, realistically day by day, moving forward, how do you navigate it, and what advice could you give to, people that, are moving forward into this future reality?
That's a good question. So I think I don't have completely the answer, but I can tell some of the techniques that I use myself. I think that the first technique is a sense of understanding. I am a person that psychologically I'm quite okay, although I have my issues. So I'm not the person that has, and even as although I'm a global personality, I don't have any issues with my ego and stuff like that. But I know that a lot of people is not the case, because you can very easily become obsessed with your success, or become obsessed with your wealth, or become obsessed with your lack of success, or with your and there's a lot of people crashing it. I think the mental health issues are going to be massive. They're already becoming disturbing. Like I said, 1 billion people. That means 1 billion people is 1 in 8 people will have digital disruption related health issues. And I would say is more than 1 billion. I would say that is probably, I would say 50% of the world will have these problems, because it's no way we can get out of it. So I would say that the main part is have a sense of balance, and a sense of well-being, that you have to work your personal health, your personal well-being. And there's a paradox, because if you ask ChatGPT anything about your personal health, you'll know. So if you use a lot of AIs, they can, the velocity of your writing, the keyboard, the way you looking at the camera, all of these things, these AIs will be able to monitor and predict your health, and predict how much years of life you're going to have. There's already a lot of companies that are working on that direction. So I'm trying to use this without being, of course, paranoid, and without being too much panicking. At the same time, I think I'm using it to try. Of course, as an entrepreneur, I've been kind of too much crazy, but as a thought, I think I have my balance as a thought leader, my unbalance as an entrepreneur. I think my entrepreneur side is probably the most unbalanced of my personality. But I think you have to separate the areas of your personality, and have a sense of. I think the most important thing is how you see yourself, feet on the ground. Really, you have to be grounded in a good way, and at the same time you have to have a really strong emotional intelligence, which is very difficult. It's very beautiful to speak, because when you're doing business you cannot be just politically correct and try to do nice, because there's people that for sometimes a lot of the business issues are not necessarily because one partner wants to screw up the other, although that happens quite often, but it's more because people don't understand, and there's a and like you're missing in translation, because you don't understand what the other person is doing, and this missing translation comes to our life as well, because of course you get excited with all this technology, but the challenge is that I would say 99% of people don't know how to make money out of this, and that's the biggest challenge that we have. So I'm part of my work is a social impact around creating ecosystems that can actually amplify the use of these technologies, not to put humans in a kind of first class and second class, which is starting to happen, and as well not to kind of perpetuate all the issues that we had in history that we are repeating continuously. Of course, like history repeats itself but never rhymes, or whatever the quote. But I think it really does a lot of things that we see happening in front of us. So I think on this balance is okay. Are we, in my case, of course, my intellectual side, my innovation side and creative side, I try to use it to make a balance, and at the same time, don't take yourself too much serious. Keep grounded. I think you are in a great place. Sometimes you can actually go and live in other places if you are lucky. But I just want to highlight for your audience, and I think I always like to share this. I did a study recently, and the numbers are scary. It's kind of a, I'm working in an AI risk management paper,
Hmm.
and I did the risk management from the interesting numbers. And the numbers are interesting. I'll just be quoting some of these numbers, and these are public numbers from the Statista and the World Bank. Is so the world economy employment numbers in 2025, there are an estimated 3.6 billion people that were employed worldwide. Ironically, there's more employment than ever compared to 2.23 billion people in 1991. But the
Mm,
challenge, of course, in 1991, there was not so much people. And of course, there was an increase of 1.4 billion people. So that means we still have in 50%, almost 60% of the world population that don't have like a stable employment focus. And then what is interesting stuff like that is that we talk about the gig economy. There's only 52 million people that are really official considered gig works worldwide. And when you go to the creative economy, it's even less. So we have a big problem here. And I think this is statistics, not my numbers. These are numbers from the World Bank and Statista. Is okay, you and me are gig economy, whatever we are employed or non-employed. We create our own employment, our own stuff, but not in a big corporation. But definitely this is going to be a risk because in the end of the day, okay, there's only 52. I thought it would be like half a billion people in gig economy. So that
mm,
means there's 4 billion people that don't have a job, or they have a conventional kind of economical system, and there's only 52 on the gig economy. So we're creating all of this for what?
mm,
So that's the biggest question that I think we need to ask. And I interviewed some of the top people in technology in the world. Very few people can answer this because, of course, you go to philosophical, but most of the governments have no clue what is happening. So it's quite big questions, and that's some of my obsessions and as well concerns. But I think these numbers I think, should make us feel all of us because that's 52 million people that are in the gig economy. Most of them are in a precarious situation, but there's 4
mm,
billion people that are really not have. If you go to Africa, they don't have any kind of stability, or even Latin America and most of Asia they don't have the security that we have in Europe or something like that. So yeah, there's a lot of big considerations and big question marks. And there was a. I'll finish just with one quote. It was from not a quote, but from one of the former directors of Google that I really like, and he was saying that the moment we need to start asking these questions. Okay, it's not in 5 years because in 5 years we'll have AI so advanced that they will start manipulating us, and they can do a lot of things people cannot understand what they can do. And it's this even the most disruptive people in the planet are saying it. So it's just right now, are we going to be taking ownership of this and how we take it to the next level? So that's my notes. I know that is
mm.
big things, but yeah, we have to take it serious.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely, and it is absolutely right to raise these big questions because, yeah, how did so just kind of bringing it back to like business and business growth and you know you're talking about the workplace, employees, employment. How do you envision like the future workplace evolving? You know, in real terms, what skills will be essential for leaders, employees? Like what kind of what do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
I believe that at the moment I was talking about I'm building a new term from is the well-being sports economy,
Hmm.
and I believe that this. I hope that we can actually build this, and we have to put education. I still didn't find the right term, but I'll work it out. But it's in the sense of at the moment the only things that are not going to change is our health and our well-being. But this is a massive business because there's 8 billion people that are in the same situation as us. So whatever wealthy or poor they are all in the same situation. If you are the wealthiest person in the world, you still have some well-being issues or mental health and challenges as a human. So I believe that the work kind of jobs that you're going to have are more jobs related, of course, to technology and tools, anything, and of course the other ones have been replaced by robots. Right now is how we people like us can build technology that don't disrupt more than is disrupted, and actually can integrate people in this gig economy or whatever economy we are trying to build. Because in the end of the day, you cannot continue building all this technology to put people out of jobs. And don't fool me around that everything will be possible. No way. I don't believe that anything can be that all. I think there's a big lie in the sense that all this technology will be used for good. No, it's not going to be used for good, and we cannot lie to ourselves. I think the more we lie to ourselves, the more issues we have, and that is my main concern right now. Is first of all, people have to start taking this serious. They have to start preparing themselves. That definitely they're going to be disrupted, massive disrupted, and the best way to avoid this disruption is start building. So I would say build your personal brand. It's the first advice. because your personal brand is the only thing you control, and control your data around this personal brand and create revenue streams and financial ways of protecting yourself. Uh, because it's not easy if you're an entrepreneur like me and you, I'm sure other people, it's very difficult. Okay, whatever is success, you see, even the biggest companies in the world can lose a quarter of their revenues in one day, and this is the reality. Okay, so of course they have preparation, they have savings, they have all this stuff, but most of people don't have it. So we need to be very, very careful about this part of personal branding, personal financial well-being as well, and health well-being. So these three things, you have to master it from young age and start putting money aside to protect yourself and creating solutions that can actually combat all the disruption that we're talking about. So if you do that, immediately, I think what happens is that you can actually, first of all, create a solution in terms of the challenge that we're facing. And this will be then creating, once you have this in conscious, then you can think, okay, if I'm really having capacity of control my personal brand, if I have a control of capacity of my personal finances, I can have a lifestyle.
Mm.
And of course, this is very easy to say, but do it is quite difficult. And I think especially the universities are forgetting all of this. And that's why I'm very focused on education, because I believe that the only way we can change humanity is taking this serious. Okay, so and the more serious we take it, the more results we can get for everyone. So that's some of the notes that I have, I think, on this. And then of course, in terms of work balance, life, I know that a lot of people want to work to 9 to 5. They want to not study too much. Forget it. You have to have a work balance, but that work balance is even the ones that want to work from 9 to 5. They spend 4 hours in front of the device or five,
Mm.
sometimes more. So don't tell me about work-life balance. You have to be responsible for your stuff. And this is the problem with Europe, is that Europe is thinking, and you and me in Europe is, we think that we are above, that we have some kind of, no, we are nothing. Well, Europe is dead as economics. Come on, Africa, they have to work, they have no security. Asia, they have no security. US have no security. Latin America, worse. Guys, get a grip. I think when people tell me, let's keep this social welfare is this lifestyle that we have to work. Of course, I'm not saying right now, let's destroy all our social welfares. No, I think for the country, we have to fight for it, but fight for it with realism, not with the kind of, because I think definitely the biggest challenge that people have no clue and they're really eluding themselves. It's really serious stuff that people are forgetting. They live in some kind of twilight zone that for me is scary. But yeah, that's my realistic part. And definitely of course, in terms of the workplace, of course, if you look at the fourth industrial revolution, disrupt the entire world economy and most of the jobs, and he created as well most of the colonialism that we have came from the 19th century with the industrial revolution. And these countries took over other countries because they didn't have education, they didn't have the preparation. And don't you cannot go in the extreme as well, saying that Europe was bad and the other guys were fighting with each other. That's why people came and took over them. Of course, there was a lot of excesses that are not acceptable, but the two sides have to be considered. So it's very complex human history, and I love history, so we have to look. But I think there will be a lot of new jobs we can create, but it's not jobs. Is skill sets, well-being. I don't believe there's jobs created. There's no jobs being created because effectively, for instance, there was a study by ChatGPT and a whistleblower that said that at the moment there's enough computer power to replace all the intelligent jobs in the planet. And this
Mm.
is public. You went to the Library of the Congress, and then of course we have people in political jobs coming up with some disruptive narratives. I think we might have a dictator for the world planet because technology can create that. So there's a lot of things that will happen. Okay, so and humans unfortunately are not smart to think about this thing. So I'm not so positive on this level, but I want really to make sure that people think about this. Even if it's
Mm.
two people, they can think and tell to their families, or because if you don't, yeah, it's not easy, but it's going to be. I know that most of the people want to have a normal life and just have 9 to 5, but then okay, yeah, it's like for instance, if you're an ant, and if you are as the theory of Nick Bostrom of a lot of the different where is that are going to happen. So we need to be very careful how we take this, but we need to be conscious, especially people that are in business and in technology.
Mm. Yeah, fascinating. You mentioned just then about there's not jobs being created, but you kind of touched on skill sets, like opportunities for skill sets. Is that what do you kind of see there in terms of skill sets? What do you see becoming more and more valuable?
Yeah, it's of course this is a moving target, but I would say that one of the things I found, and I'm talking right now from a very practical level of me as an entrepreneur, and with 30 years of experience, is ironically no one understands digital. So digital skills, for instance, we're doing this podcast. These podcasts are super important, okay? And this is really important because I'm learning with you, learning with me, and we can explore even potential collaborations because there's a respect intellectual. But for instance, doing the podcast and have an audience of 10 people or an audience of 50 or 100 or 1,000 or 10,000, it's a massive skill set. And there's no AI that will do that for you. It has to be you with budgets, and you have to pay to the big players of Silicon Valley to get audiences. And there's no way people think, okay, I'll get an audience organic. Oh, that doesn't exist. It's hard work. And there's a part of organic, but there's like 5-10%. And there's 90% that is hustling, talking, paying for tools, paying for whatever the stuff. So this is a massive economy because in the end of the day, everyone needs a coach, needs skill sets, needs continuous developing of their skills. And that's a big opportunity business wise. So when I mentioned the well-being economy and the skill set economy, it's a massive one because we need all to keep these parts. And I believe that this lack of skill sets on digital is alarming. Okay. Because for instance, 90% of the people I've been working business, I would say almost 99%, don't understand anything of digital. Even people, CTOs, okay, they might be fantastic on AI technology, spatial computing, quantum computing, they don't know how to manage Twitter. They don't know how to manage X or whatever, Twitter X or Facebook or whatever the stuff. And they have prejudice. That's the paradox, okay? Most of the people have prejudice. Come on, guys, you don't understand that everything is right now digital. You have 50 sensors in your phone or more. You have in your computer how much sensors. There's a lot of so I would say the digital skill sets applied to specific personal developing skill sets is a massive task that is completely underrated. The coaching digital, but coaching with digital skill sets because you need that. And as well, the idea of AI agents that can actually work with you. I think there's a book that I love that is 2041. AI 2041 is a fantastic book that I recommend for people to read. So, for
Okay.
instance, that book is amazing because it touches how we take the different levels of kind of an innovation that is not too much crazy, and I think it's wonderful because they made it's the two authors made a fantastic work to make the innovation become not completely crazy disruptive. And it's really, I think they achieve it. I love the book, and I have to. It's one of the things I want to bring them to my podcast because it's really effectively touches all the things we're talking here, but it still portrays the world that is in 20 years from now, but it's still human driven. So I believe that is possible. Of course, it can be going more direction on other, but I think it's something that is going to be very, very interesting, and how we can take it. So the book, just for people listening to me, is AI. It's by, let me see, I want to get the right name of the authors. Is AI 2041. It's by two authors, is Kei-Fu Lee and Chen Qiufan, and they are both. One is a VC and from a Google. Both of them work with Google, and they're very high-profile technologists. But they actually made it as kind of a high-profile technology description of everything we've been talking here. But at the same time, with science fiction, there is reality construction stories. So I believe that if we create these stories of narratives that are less dystopian, we can actually prepare people.
Mm.
And for instance, the fictions around this education, I think education skill sets adapt to humans and sports and well-being, and skill sets of coaching are massive important. And then the digital, because in the end of the day, all these AI tools, there will be two or three that will be successful. Most of them will fail. So it's about how we work it out, and as well our capacity we have, because this is effectively, we have DeepSeek that happened recently, but that is not really so cheap as they say that it is. There's 300 people working there. There's almost 10,000 GPUs. If you did the calculation, it goes to $1 billion plus. When a massive success is not really a massive success, that very few people in the planet, as well as the Chinese government involvement. So I'm just saying that nothing happens by accident, but of
Mm.
course there's leapfrog. So it's how we apply this to our day-to-day lives.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And that sounds like a really interesting book. I'm definitely going to check that out. What advice would you now give then to younger entrepreneurs, I mean, you've talked about building a personal brand, and you obviously practice what you preach because your brand is, your brand is huge. So it's you've obviously put in the time and work to build that up over time. What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs looking to just leverage, you know, digital technology right now to drive growth in today's, just super dynamic environment?
It's a good question, and I think I'm glad you asked. So I would say I taught in multiple universities worldwide, Copenhagen Business School and a group in SIC, and they're like probably, I don't know, total in history, I've heard more than 500 students passing through me directly, but now I'm not teaching, I don't have time, but I still am involved with a lot of universities. So I think from all these 500 students or more that passed through me, I think only two were digital savvy. So that scares the hell out of me, and two or three. There's some exception, of course, to others that try. So there's different kind of digital skill sets. Of course, let's start with your LinkedIn profile and how you master your LinkedIn profile. That's a key element because in the end of the day, it's your HR and is your first ID professional. Then is how we control, for instance, one thing that is going to be incredibly scary. For instance, I have at the moment, as we speak, I have a company that completely copy one of my companies and create a website with the logo of my company and is
Mm,
scamming people around the world.
crazy.
I send 50 emails to global organizations that are quite well connected, and the website is still alive.
Wow.
And these
Crazy.
people are scamming. They use my logo. Okay,
Wow.
so the point is right now. Okay, even if I put a cease and desist, of course these people are scammers. Okay, and I found the servers, I found all the information, but this is just an example how complex this is. So on your personal brand, if I do a deep fake of you, how can you distinguish yourself? And if you are a small person somewhere, I can destroy your career with
Mm,
a deep fake. And people are not understanding how scary this is because deepfakes are going to be massive damage. There's the porn vengeance. You heard probably about that. That ladies that people put this kind of they even sometimes this. I heard about some stories that I got scared because it was actually even people in very high profile networks that was, I don't know, some kind of a couple that separated, and one of the members of the couple, the man decided to do a deep fake of his girlfriend. They destroy her reputation. And it's not her, it's a deep fake. But there's a level of the fact that the face is associated with something that is, of course, disturbing. It disrupts, and if this goes all over the internet, it's really, we had this happening even with global personalities. So I think it's going to be a big problem. But if you have a control of your ID online, you can protect yourself. So
mm,
if you have a good LinkedIn profile, if you have a website about you, if you are a business person, if you have good social media profiles, people say, no, this is not the person. But this is a big thing. So it's really a big challenge. And I think we're going to have more and more because in the end of the day, for instance, even I give you an example. For instance, my Instagram, I have closed a lot of followers. And for instance, there's still one person pretending to be me. Okay. And this is a big challenge. For instance, there's one profile on Instagram with my name, with my photo, that has nothing to do with me. And I am certified by Instagram, let that happen.
mm,
And they have 1,000 followers, more than most of the people in the world. So that profile still has 1,000 people. And I know that some people were scammed. I don't know if it's this profile, but they were scammed. So it's scary. Actually, it's one of the reasons I went out a bit of crypto, although I was one of the first people in the crypto in the world, was because I was, come on, I don't want anyone to scam. And it's quite tricky. So effectively, so protecting your ID is the first uh, kind of real capacity you have to protect yourself. So I would say protect your ID first, create your digital brand in the sense of small things, a great Facebook profile, make sure the URL is always the same. So just make sure your profile, you don't need to put anything personal, just make your photo. So you start protecting yourself, just having the same photo, because if someone does a deepfake of you, see, okay, but this is the official profile of the person. Having a certified, verified account, you can do it on LinkedIn, so that protects you as well. Small things like this. And then, of course, if you are more ambitious, start working because it's very difficult. Okay. And if someone tells you it's all organic, yeah. Okay. Get a grip. Okay. It's not organic. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of tools, a lot of money. And talking, if you want to go to my level, talk about millions of dollars. Okay.
mm.
So there's no miracles here. Don't illude yourself, but hard work. And then,
Mm,
of course, a small thing you can do is doing what you're doing right now, interview other podcasts, interview other people because you're learning and you are sharing knowledge. That's the biggest way. As well, you are protecting yourself because you're putting these things online. Whereas if you are trying to build your career, you go to events physical, but you should do it as well online. So putting this, getting these courses. And for instance, one thing I oblige my team, although I have to fight sometimes with them, especially the young people, is Harvard courses for free. As MIT courses for free. Why are you not doing it?
mm,
So I'm sorry. And you get a certification, then you can put in your LinkedIn profile. So if you have a course of Harvard in your CV, definitely I'll consider to hire you. If you don't have it, I will not consider. So Harvard and MIT and all these top universities in the world are quite generous. So I am as well offering most of my content for free. So actually almost all of it. So you just don't learn if you don't want. But of course, you implies, and I think the challenge sometimes is that people become obsessed with conspiracy theorists that have this big following, and they just unfortunately putting poison on people. That's another risk. But definitely, I think the deep fake is a big risk. But you can fight it if you have especially for young ladies. This is very serious
mm,
because unfortunately there's still a lot of issues with deep fakes and porno, vengeance porno, and all these kind of things. We have to be very careful the way you do this because at the moment you can use all of these tools for doing amazing things, but you can do it for doing monster things. And
mm,
remember, this is the first phase because in the next 5 years we're going to have the AIs reverse engineer and manipulating us, which is already happening.
mm. Yeah. Yeah. what do you see? So like you obviously see a lot of businesses incorporating AI to grow. What big sort of, things are you seeing that are mistakes, and what sort of big things are you seeing that are, very like high leverage?
Yeah, I would say that it's a good question as well. And I would say that, well, first of all, I do mistakes all the time. Okay. So the first part is managing the expectations. For instance, one of my biggest mistakes is sometimes highlighting the separation between the technology costs, especially if you're an entrepreneur in AI, and the reality of your business. Because sometimes, for instance, you get excited with, for instance, I had that problem a lot with my techno technology team is that they were very excited about the particular technology. They got me excited. We put a lot of efforts on that, and the technology got outdated after 6 months. And for instance, I have a case study of a startup, not mentioning any names, that they raised like close to $20 million and they burned it all in 1 year.
Mm,
So, and when you burn $20 million in 1 year, you're down.
mm,
Okay, and this is a big problem, and this is a big case study, but there's small case studies. So I think the reality check is the most important thing. And I think one of my mistakes was I was too obsessed about products and less obsessed, even if I have a big digital presence, about my own community, about selling products. You have to sell. And this is another skill. You're talking about the skill sets. You have to learn how to sell. I think
mm,
everyone in the schools need to have financial personal development, sales personal development, wellness personal development, and technology personal development. So these four things have to work together. There's no way we can get out of it. So I would say that manage the expectations, be very realistic with what you have, because that's the bigger problem as well. You very easily spend, and as well, sometimes you don't need to go so big. For instance, a personal brand well managed can make a lot of money because you have your costs under control. At the
mm,
end of the day, you can live in a lot of countries in the world for $1,000, $2,000 per month. So if you make $20,000 per year, you're paying all your costs. Of course, if you live in London, you need more. If you live in Spain, you need less. If you live in Japan, you need other things. But if you live in Southeast Asia, of course, not everyone can think like that. But most of the people in the world live with less than $1,000 per month, much less. So
mm,
it's just to say that reality check is the most important. Get get close to networks and ecosystems. It's very important. You have to have coaches, you have to have people that you trust, and it's a continuous work. You have to don't give up because failure is just part of the process. I think as well. I think in Europe we have a problem with dealing with failure. We need to deal with failure in a different way. I think it's really important that people understand that failure is part of the process. Okay, so
mm.
that's the idea that we have.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely true. And it's different to like the US mindset, I guess, about, failure is just learn from your mistakes, and get up and have another go, which is the entrepreneurial mindset. You've got to have that mindset as an entrepreneur, as a businessman.
Yeah, that's a key element.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I totally agree and see your point about it. It is it's the high leverage personal development skills, and yeah, you mentioned sales is one of them because sales is you get a lot of rejections and you just learn as you
Yes.
go along.
And this as well, I think if you build the relationship, I think the challenge is it's a good point of rejection, but rejection, I think is if you, and this is I'm learning because I've made all the mistakes, so I'm very humble on that. Is in the sense that is how you build an ecosystem. Because, for instance, I give you an example. I built things amazing, but I forgot other things. And especially my mistakes were always that I had this, but I wanted this. So if you want to, okay, you have to be, how do you go from step to step? And I think that this is the biggest challenge with sales and the biggest challenge with product. You start selling what you have. Because there's a lot of people, okay, no, you're not prepared. And in Europe, no one is prepared. In Europe, we never prepared. So we have as well to become more realistic. Okay, we're not scamming anyone, but you have to start selling what you have, not what you don't have. And this is a
Mm,
big challenge because psychological people, first of all, they are afraid of selling. And second, they're afraid of, okay, the product has to be perfect. No product is perfect. This is a
mm,
big challenge. And sometimes there's millions of dollars put in the garbage because people think about that. I had a couple of cases in my own career of literally millions of dollars being on the garbage because people were so obsessed about the perfection of the project that they forgot the reality and they forgot the audience. And that's the point that I really struggled to see this happening. So yeah, but that's part of the beauty and the challenge of life as well. You have to see this as an adventure. I've been very dramatic, but at the same time, there's great things. And at the end of the day, I think that if young people listen to us, they start using these tools and build a brand, have fantastic opportunities that I never had. And ultimately, we are in Europe, of course, but even any student in Africa that is smart enough and builds this brand can build a network and build a follow up that can actually pay for it.
yeah,
And for us, there are really a lot of tools as well to make entrepreneurs make money, but no one uses these tools.
yeah. Yeah, well, Dennis, it was a really enlightening discussion. Absolutely fascinating. So, thanks so much for sharing your insights. Just for our listeners, where's I know you can just Google your name and you come up everywhere. Where do you kind of want to direct people to learn more about you and visit your resources?
Yeah, I think definitely, probably my YouTube channel is the part where I put most of my premium content, at least in video and text. But I have as well, of course, I'm all over the place in the internet. So from my Medium, I have a lot of content. My websites, of course, I think the website I would like for people to listen, that is I think the one I'm more proud. I have three websites I'm very proud, but there's two in particular. There's wisdomia.ai, which is for me my legacy to the world. It's a bit like a 3D encyclopedia of humanity. And you have literally, like the name says, wisdom and utopia combined with AI. And I'm really making it special, and I want to bring people to work. And my goal is to make it an open source platform where people can actually create their profiles and learn and create entertainment experience and create this creator slash well-being and entertainment skill set economy. Then of course I write all my books are available, some of them online, my blogs and my on the Intelligent HQ on the businessabc.net is as well one of my main websites, and one of my achievements technology wise is a bit like a wiki encyclopedia with AI for business, where actually any business and personality can actually create their profiles, and having a wiki page based on facts and with blockchain certification in AI. Uh, of course, I'm all over the internet. I have profiles, I think, in all the social media channels, mainstream available. But I think it depends if you like to read or if you like to see videos. And I'm doing a lot of things provoking students. I'm starting to do a lot of courses and education that I did in the past. Now I'm trying to not do it myself, but put it in universities. And I push some of my books to teach, because I believe that all the things you ask me is the things I'm trying to put in practical levels.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, amazing, Dennis. Really appreciate it again. Thanks so much for joining, and yeah, we'll hopefully continue this conversation again sometime because it was very,
No,
very
no,
helpful.
completely. And congratulations for this. And as well, I like your idea of the AI micro agents. So I think that's an important thing as well. I hope we can work on that as well. Okay.
Sounds great. Thanks a lot. You take care.
Thank you.
All
Thank you.
right.